Hot take, but Don Toliver might actually be better than Travis Scott right now. Not bigger, but musically, consistently, and culturally, he's just constantly dominating right now. Today, I'm breaking down why people are sleeping on him and why that could change everything in 2026 and in the years to come. The first thing I want to address though is Don's early rise, and I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, but we're just gonna talk about how I remember when Travis Scott introduced us to Don Toliver. Now, Don was already making music for the longest of time, and he was already trying to push himself to promoters and labels, but Travis really does deserve the credit for putting Don in front of the masses, giving Don a platform to thrive in. You can hear those early Houston melodic notes and roots in his early music, and it really came out in his introduction to the masses, which is the song Can't Say on Travis Scott's Astroworld project, which not only was an amazing album, but that song alone was probably one of my favorites when I first heard it. But that was only the beginning for Don, because after that period, although Don to me personally still doesn't get the credit he deserves, he slowly has been featured on so many rappers' projects, even pop singers and country singers stuff. Don has certain things that Trav just doesn't, and I'm not trying to knock Travis. Travis Scott is in my top 10 artists for sure, but sometimes you just want a little more, and Travis has always been good at production, but Don takes the production and he adds melodies and hook-driven consistency that Trav or most rappers alone aren't capable of doing. Don Toliver doesn't just make songs, he makes hits and vibes that people can replay for years. But I'm gonna get to what a lot of people may have been wondering my opinions on, which is the comparison. Let's compare Don to Travis. Not in like a hating way, but literally in just a way of observing both of their careers. Now, Travis, not gonna lie to you, has had a lot more highs. He's had some crazy lows with Astrofest and with all these different things, but from Astroworld being one of the biggest rap albums of all time to songs that really blew up and are global hits, Travis has had so many peaks in his career that it's kind of pointless for me to name them all, because not only are there so many, but you probably already know them. Like his collaboration meal with McDonald's, which led to McDonald's and other companies having collaboration meals with other artists just because of how successful it became. Don hasn't had those same highs, but he's had so much more consistency in staying relevant. Not to say that Travis hasn't stayed relevant, of course he has, but Don came up during a time period with a lot of other different rappers that we don't speak about anymore, and it proves that Don, just like Travis, has that longevity factor to him. And I also think that Don is better at keeping his momentum going, although Travis is better at holding a legacy, because we got to think about it. We've been talking about Travis for about a decade now. He's been in the game for so long, so he is now officially a legacy artist. He's an artist that other artists are now looking up to. However, when it comes to keeping a ball rolling, I actually think that Don has been better at it. I mean, you can feel the themes and the direction of his albums, like his recent project Octane, one of my favorite albums from him, Lovesick. I mean, every project that Don Toliver drops, you feel the vibe that he's going for on that project. Now, in my personal opinion, I'm ready for Don to be doing a little bit more lyrically, but that's not gonna take away the fact that I love his music, and melodically and sonically, he knows what he's doing, and it's really hard for anyone to deny that now. Yes, Travis Scott may have a bigger cultural impact. I mean, we've seen Cactus Jack as a brand be so big to the point where I remember 2016, 2017, where his shoes, his clothing line, everything just kind of made sense, and you wanted to kind of be a part of Travis's world that he created. But I do think that long term, Don's gonna be the one who stays relevant the longest. Travis Scott has moments, but Don Toliver has reliability. You know that when Don drops a project, there's going to be, at the very least, 4 or 5 solid songs, and that reliability may matter more in today's streaming era. But why is Don Toliver still under the radar? Well, he's had a very quiet rise versus Travis Scott's hype cycles. Now, every time Travis is doing something, every time he drops, whether it's Cactus Jack collab project like he recently did with Jack Boys 2, or whether he's about to drop a single or an album, Travis Scott is able to keep the hype going, build the hype for something, put it out, and then he's gone for a long period of time. Now, he's in a position where he can do that, but I still believe Don has something that not a lot of artists do, which is that quiet momentum where people are aware that Don Toliver dropped a project, but nobody's screaming and raving about it. Yet the numbers are doing well. Obviously, people are streaming him, and he's just so consistent back to back. He's very strategic with his releases, and his releases never really feel like long time periods in between each other, yet they always feel like they gave you enough time to sit with the previous thing he put out. He's got songs and features that have blown up on TikTok, which is a really big deal now, and I feel like we really need to commend him for building influence without a meme or being overexposed, because sometimes flying under the radar is actually the ultimate superpower in making a rap career last. Why is Don Toliver so good? Because he's been able to combine that production that came from Travis's camp and make it into his own thing where you can't stop but listen to his melodies, to his catchy hooks, and most importantly to me, his feature versatility. I mean, every single time I see a Don Toliver feature, I've yet to hear a bad one. If you ever think about that, a lot of people have mentioned that Travis Scott, the mandated Travis Scott features on people's projects, and I get it, but sometimes Travis's features are extremely forgettable. As much as I'm a big fan of him, sometimes he's kind of just doing more of the same or something that doesn't feel like he put his all into it. Whereas with Don Toliver, I feel that every time he does a feature, he thought through what he was gonna say on that to make sure that it made sense. Travis definitely has more bombastic moments. He definitely has bigger moments where he's shining, but Don, he's so damn consistent. And I keep saying this because it's true. It's funny because you have an artist like Juice WRLD where they're known for melody, an artist like Uzi where they're known for being one of the foundations for introducing melodic rap, somebody like Playboi Carti, who we can't help but respect now because of how much he's doing for rap as a whole and really giving it that extra boost that we haven't seen in years. Don Toliver does all of those things that those artists does, but under the radar, and I feel like it's time to start appreciating it more. But the big question, could Don Toliver take over Travis Scott's spot? I think in relevance, to be quite honest, absolutely. As much as people may say like, oh well, Travis Scott this, Travis Scott that, I'm not hating. I love Travis Scott as an artist, and I think he's done so much for rap. I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect that. Of course I respect Travis, but I think for the future, Don Toliver has been set up to do better than him and to succeed from him. I feel like Travis Scott honestly would want that anyway. At the end of the day, he is Travis's artist still, at least right now. You would want people that you put on to do better than you eventually, like you want to hand over the mantle to somebody. And I think that's what he's doing with Don Toliver and honestly with Sofego. But is he better or just different? I would say he's just different. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's better than Travis Scott, because they both do different things for different audiences and we have to respect those lanes. But Don just does what he does so well, and he's one of those artists that I would put in the same lane, not musically, but as Lil Tecca, in the sense of, although he's so capable of doing so much more, he chooses to stick in this one little lane and just does that extremely, extremely well, and that has produced lots of success for him. Don Toliver is just redefining what looking like a superstar looks like. But is that enough to surpass Travis's legacy? Don Toliver is consistent. In my opinion, he's underrated, and his last project, Octane, proves all of this. But who's really winning in 2026 right now? Travis Scott or Don Toliver? Is Don Toliver better than Travis Scott right now? Should Don Toliver be considered one of the next huge superstars, or do you think he already is? Which side are you picking? Please comment your thoughts and let me know what artists you want me to talk about next. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. I've got tons more content on the way, and if you want to follow me or any of my own music, you could follow me everywhere. It's been your boy Will Armani. Please stay positive.